Okay, so today in this video, we're going to cover Title V. So it's really about septic systems, but Title V is the Massachusetts law that covers septic systems, installation and inspections. And basically, there's a bunch of stuff that I like to go over whenever someone's buying a Title V property, which is pretty common. So in this area, 40 to 50% of the properties have Title V, they have septic systems. And so we run into them all the time. And there's definitely things that most people should know before they buy a house. I mean, anytime you're buying a house, you should know as much as you can about the expensive components, and septic systems definitely qualify. So what is Title V? So as I mentioned, Title V is the law that governs septic systems. We talk about Title V in real estate all the time, but we're usually talking about the report. So when you sell a house, in order for you to get a mortgage on, for the next buyer to get a mortgage on that house, the banks know that they need to ask for Title V and make sure that the septic system is good. So they do. And that Title V report is what they need in order to check that box and make sure that someone can get a mortgage. So the report is really thorough. I mean, it's 17 pages. And even though all the pages aren't necessarily filled out for every septic system, there's a lot of stuff that's in the report. If you're looking at a lot of reports, you can sort of figure out a lot of stuff about a septic system. So, but it's not exhaustive. Okay, they don't dig the system up and check it out. There are things that they do not do, and you should be aware of the fact that they haven't done them. And so the main thing that I think most people should really need to understand about a Title V report is that it is not a warranty and it's not a guarantee. So if they give you the report, you buy the house and the system fails a week later, that's just tough luck. That's how it goes. So they're not really on the hook for that. So the folks that are inspecting systems are licensed by the state. So it's in their best interest to give you as clear an understanding of the system as possible. And if it is going to fail, they're supposed to fail it when they inspect it. So, but you know, things can happen. So, but most of the time, that's pretty much how it works. So, a lot of people prefer city sewer. So, I just did this slide because there are some pros and cons about septic systems. So, I think the biggest pro that's out there that I think people don't understand is that they're super environmentally friendly, way more than the city sewer. City sewer requires power, you know, not just to move the water from, you know, your house to wherever it needs to go, but most sewage is treated, and treating sewage is an expensive proposition. It requires a lot of electricity to get wastewater back into a situation where it can be released back into the environment. So septic systems most of the time don't require any electricity at all, and they use bacteria from Mother Nature, and they release the whole system back to Mother Nature. So ultimately, you know, you really, I think it's hard to beat the environmental friendliness of a septic system. Another pro, obviously, is you don't have a sewer bill. I mean, sewer bills are hundreds to thousands of dollars every year for most folks in this area, and they're going up. You know, they don't tend to go down; they tend to go up because you have to get septic treatment plants. So the more people that move here, the more stress is put on septic treatment plants, the more routing they have to do to get them to other septic treatment plants. It just gets more expensive, more pipes they have to maintain. So when you don't have a sewer bill, there's a huge savings. Now, the offset there is you're basically in charge of your own sewer service. Okay. And so even though modern day systems are designed, and even the older systems are designed for a really long use, by that I mean decades, 25 to 30 years is what they were designed for. When they do need to be replaced, the bill is often very expensive. $20,000 to $40,000 is not out of line for a typical septic replacement, especially a full replacement. So some systems can be kept going by replacing parts. You know, in this area, a lot of the D boxes were not required to be particularly good. Today, those standards have been improved, but sometimes we run into older systems that have bad D boxes, and you can replace them. And that doesn't cost $20,000 to $40,000, but it's not cheap either. I mean, it's expensive. So, you know, there are things that you need to know there. When I'm looking at a report, there's a bunch of things that I'm trying to figure out. First is I'm trying to figure out how old that system is, because like I said, most of them are designed to last 30 years. And if you've got a system that's 50 years old that's in the ground, I think you need to have a discussion about that, right? Like it's really, you got to start thinking about how the systems work and how much pressure it's been under for 50 years, and try to dig into the report, see if they've got good drainage information in there. So, if it's a system that was done in the 1990s and that would make it 25 years old today, not really worried about that system quite as much because the technology has gone a long way. And if it's been properly maintained, it will probably still have, plenty of life left in it. So, but ultimately, when you're looking at the report, those are the kinds of things you're trying to figure out. Sometimes we run into systems that have very small systems, even though the house is quite large. I won't get into why we see that, but sometimes you do see that. So if it's a 4-bedroom house, or it functions like a 4-bedroom house, but it's only got a 2-bedroom system, well, if you're putting a lot of people in that house, that's a concern, because the amount of water that that system is designed to handle is probably not consistent with how you're going to use the house. So that is definitely something that you need to look at for any system that you're going to buy, is making sure that it's the right size for how you're going to use the house, not just the right size for the house. A tough thing to find out from the report is how well the seller is taking care of the system. It's not usually information we can give you. I mean, we just don't know. There's nobody looking at it on a regular basis. And so for everyone who's buying a septic system, you do have to take some sort of chance there. If there's obviously serious problems with it, they should come up. When it's inspected, they should be in the Title V report. But there are a lot of things that people can do that are not proper, that are harder for septic inspectors to notice. And I also think people should know, I mean, a lot of houses are on their second septic system. And if that septic system was done relatively recently in the last 20 years, if you take care of that system, it's going to last a long time. I mean, the chances that it will outlast your run with the house are very good. And you should really understand how they're put together so that you can keep it running for as long as possible, for as little money as possible. And it really doesn't take a lot of time or money to keep a septic system running the way it ought, and especially a modern day system. But you still need to know what to do. And so it's probably a good idea to talk about that before you buy the house. The other two items we've already talked about. So this is what a septic system looks like. I have another video that goes into this in more depth. But the key things here are just that there's a tank, a D-box, and a leach field. The report addresses each of these at various levels of detail. They definitely get to take a good look at the tank. They're supposed to take a really good look at the D-box. If there's reasons they can't, they note them. And if they found problems or require fixes in those areas, they note them too. The one area that they don't really inspect in the report is the leach field. And unfortunately, leach field failure often requires a new system. So those are the chances that you take there. Some people don't want to take those chances, so they high prioritize city sewer systems. But I think you can actually really reduce your risk of having problems with your septic system by looking at those reports and understanding that just because it says pass, that doesn't always mean ready to go. But a lot of times a pass system with a little bit of knowledge about the age of the system and everything else that goes along with it means that you can have a lot of trouble-free years with that system, not pay any sewer bills, which can be a really good deal. So a little knowledge can go a long way. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you have